Miami, you're listening to FIU Student Radio, 95.3 The Roar, 96.9 in North Miami, and 88.1 in Kendall and Homestead. You can also tune in online at PantherNOW.com. I'm Nazareth. I host Gold Sounds, Tuesdays 5 to 6 on 95.3 The Roar. Hope you're enjoying what we're currently playing, and stick around for some more music. Thank you so much.
You have to trust. Where's the love?
I play 90s alternative, which can encompass anything from like indie rock, punk, twee, shoegaze, metal, etc., etc. I guess I never really sought out anything 90s. It's kind of something that I realized doing all my other shows. Like I had a trip hop show last semester. I had it on Fridays, and trip hop is like totally 90s. And then I had a female-fronted rock show Tuesdays 5 to 6 before having Gold Sounds, and I guess I realized like I just always played like a lot of 90s stuff, and like I wouldn't seek it out. It's just like they just ended up being my favorites, like Bjork, Fiona Apple, Tori Amos, things like that. I usually try to go for a different sound each week, not necessarily genre, because I don't like doing that. I feel like genres have a lot more overlap than people give them credit for. So for example, like my first episode was kind of a mix of everything, and my second episode I tried to go for heavier stuff. So I played like metal, industrial punk, things like that. My third episode was a lot slower, so I played like twee, indie pop, slower indie rock, folk, things like that. Like everyone knows like all the like starter pack artists, but having to go deeper into like that decade, it's really rewarding. Like you find out a lot of new stuff. Gold Sounds is a legacy show. It was hosted by one of our older DJs, I think like 3, 4, 5 years ago. His name is Chris Rodriguez. He was the first person to have it. Then last year it was hosted by one of our other DJs, Peter. And they've all done it kind of differently because everyone has their favorite bands, favorite artists. And now it's my show, so. Okay, so this is definitely one of my favorite albums from the 90s, one of my favorite albums overall. It's from Everything But the Girl. The album's called Amplified Heart. I'm pretty sure this is like a late 90s release. Point is, Everything But the Girl started off in the 80s. They at first did like jazz type stuff. They did kind of like folky stuff as well. Some like new wave stuff a little bit too. Then in the 90s they started doing like kind of like this kind of acoustic type of thing. This like a very acoustic based album. After this they put out like basically like a trip hop album. It was like trip hop, drum and bass, things like that. They're just super important. Like I think when you want to talk about like a dynamic band, Everything But the Girl is like the band to talk about. Like there's no one more diverse than them, in my opinion. I think it's important to keep on playing this style of music, aside from the fact that this is a legacy show. The 90s was kind of the peak of college radio. It was kind of the golden era, and us as in like 95.3 The Roar, we've been around since 1988, but again, the 90s was kind of our peak in a lot of ways. So I guess what I want to show off the most is this Velocity Girl EP that I got up in Gainesville, and I got this for $5, but it's this super rare single from Velocity Girl, which is like a twee band from the 90s. I have Post, which is kind of the album that like everyone gets into her through this album. It's not my favorite. The album that came after this is my favorite, Homogenic. But yeah, Post kind of has like her hits. It has like Hyper Ballad, Army of Me, like all the songs that are like certified Bjork. But yeah, it's awesome. If I had the chance to interview any person on my show, any artist from the 90s, it would be Bjork, hands down. There's just no one like her. I really feel like there is no other. She's super creative, super unique. She's always done her own thing. She's never flopped. She's never fallen off. She's still making great albums. She hardly ever comes out in public. So to be able to interview her would be a dream. I could die for that. Slow Dive, for sure. I feel like they kind of fleshed out their career a little bit more. So it's not that I think they're better. They just have more output. Twin Peaks. Okay, I have a Twin Peaks tattoo, so obviously Twin Peaks for me. It's super nerdy, but in the last episode of Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer does this thing with her hands, and it means something in Buddhism. It means like go with no fear, fearlessness, things like that. And it's super inspiring to me, and I just wanted to get something about the show as well. So it means something to me, but it's also me being a nerd about Twin Peaks. Mazzy Star, 100%. Like I love Hope Sandoval, but like Mazzy Star just has it. It's just classic. So. Hole. I mean, the thing with Nirvana is that they're a classic band, and I do like them, but I love Courtney Love as a person, so Hole all the way. cybergoth gives me a lot of mixed feelings. It was cool, I guess, because it's so definitive of the 90s, but would I do it? No. And do I think that people who do it are always cool? No. But I appreciate it for what it is. Lisa Frank used to scare me when I was a kid, because it was like a lot of bright colors, and I was also scared of like girly stuff. But like now I look at it and I'm like, Lisa Frank is so cool. Like, who else has that style? So, she's cool. TLC, all the way. Because they're just more dynamic than Destiny's Child. Britney. Christina flopped. Britney is still... Britney is still going. I was in Las Vegas last week. People still show up to see Britney. And she's still putting out music. And she's great. Like, she's more timeless than Christina. All the way. That's a lot. Jawbreaker. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, so. Okay, so favorite 90s album? Really hard pick, but Dummy from Portishead. Like I said, I used to have a trip-hop show on Fridays, and it was really hard to not play something from this every single week. I just think like this is one of the most beautiful albums ever created, and it's just like very emotional. The vocals on this are beautiful, the production's great. The hip-hop influences are really fleshed out in a way that's really classy, really elegant, and it's timeless. I really, like, I can go on about this album forever, but I'll keep it short. College radio is super important. It's a gateway for a lot of people, and I feel like people say like, oh, radio's dying and whatever, and I guess you can make that argument, but I just think it's wrong. I think there's still people who listen to radio. It's a way to discover music. And college radio is also a place where a lot of people come to find home. I know for me it was like that. I joined in July of last year and it's been totally life-changing. I didn't really have any direction in my life before I joined here, which I know sounds dramatic. But if you join here and if you're really passionate about music and what you do, you're going to understand what I'm saying. So, I guess long live college radio and long live 90s alternative.